And welcome to your Tropical Weather Bulletin for May the 26th, 2013. It's 6 days until the start of the Atlantic hurricane season, the East Pacific hurricane season already in effect. And at the moment we have three invests out in the world at the moment. Invest 91E in the Eastern Pacific, Invest 90C near Hawaii, and Invest 96P down in the Pacific near the Solomon Islands, or Vanuatu actually, isn't it? And welcome to Force 13's second tropical weather update, and with just 5 days to go until the Atlantic hurricane season commences, there are lots of invests to talk about all of a sudden. However, none of them are in the Atlantic, they're all elsewhere around the world. 90C still going over Hawaii, 91E and 92E now churning up the Eastern Pacific, 95A in the Sea of Arabia, and 94B in the Bay of Bengal at the moment. And hello again, welcome to Bulletin number 3 for May the 28th, 2013. As you can see, the world tropics out there are warming up slightly, with Invest 92E now with a high chance of formation near the Mexican coastline. We also have a few other invests still out there at the moment: Invest 90C, 91E, 95A and 94B, as well as 92E, which we're watching at the moment. And welcome to Tropical Weather Update number 4 for May the 29th, 2013. And we have a new tropical storm out there in the world, Tropical Storm Barbara, which has just formed off the coast of Mexico and is likely to make landfall in Mexico in the next day. There's some warnings up on that one already, and we'll come to that one a little bit later on. We also have a few other Invest 91E, 94W in the Western Pacific, and also 94B still going in the Bay of Bengal. And welcome to Tropical Weather Bulletin number 5 for May the 30th, 2013. Here you can see the world tropics, where Hurricane Barbara has made landfall this evening, the first hurricane of the Northern Hemisphere this year. You can see it there in Mexico, it's just made landfall. Invest 91E is also still going with a 40% chance at the moment, and 94B with a moderate chance out in the Bay of Bengal near the Indian coast. And welcome to Tropical Weather Bulletin number 6, day 17 in the Eastern Pacific, and day 1 of the Atlantic starts tomorrow, June the 1st. It's made the place today as of midnight. Here is the current map showing 91E next Barbara, and 94B and 95W out in the Pacific, all invests, except for Barbara, which has dissipated in the extreme southern Gulf of Mexico. And welcome to Tropical Weather Update number 7 for June the 1st, 2013. That date is very much upon us at the moment. As of midnight UTC, here's the current situation in the tropics: 90L, Invest 90L in the southern Gulf of Mexico in the Atlantic, and 95W in the Western Pacific to the north of Papua New Guinea. That's all that's going on at the moment in the world. 94B dissipating, Barbara is now 90L, and 91E dissipating during May the 31st. Welcome to day 2 of the Atlantic hurricane season, day 18 in the Eastern Pacific, and also day 2 in the Central Pacific. It's June the 2nd, 2013 today, and we have 90L, Invest 90L in the Southern Atlantic in the Southern Gulf of Mexico, and we have Invest 95W, which is currently just past Palau in the Western Pacific. Elsewhere there is no other systems active, no current invests. And welcome to day 3 of the Atlantic hurricane season and the Central Pacific hurricane season, also day 20 in the Eastern Pacific, and currently looking at the world tropics. Invest 90L was declassified yesterday, but the area of interest in the Atlantic still remains a 10% chance on a new system that's formed near the Cuban coast in the Yucatan Channel. We also have 3 other invests: 96A in the Arabian Sea, 97B in the Bay of Bengal, and 96W in the Western Pacific. You can see it there on the Pacific Ocean satellite at the moment. It's a little bit further back from where 95 West was. That one dissipated, was declassified as well yesterday. And welcome to day 5 of the Atlantic hurricane season and the Central Pacific hurricane season as well, day 22 in the Eastern Pacific. Currently 3 invests active in the Northern Hemisphere at the moment. 91L, of course, in the Atlantic now with a 40% chance of development as of the upload time, midnight UTC on June 5th, 2013. 96A out in the Sea of Arabia, Arabian Sea, very near the Oman coast as well, and Invest 97W, which is centred just to the southeast of the Philippines, the southern island of Mindanao in the Philippines. The current invest currently is located close to that. And welcome to day 6 of the Atlantic hurricane season, day 23 in the Eastern Pacific, and we have our first storm of the season in the Atlantic Ocean, that in the form of Tropical Storm Andrea, which is currently in the Gulf of Mexico and is expected to move quite quickly off to the northeast into Florida and beyond. More on that forecast in a minute. We also have Invest 98W in the Western Pacific. That's all that's going on at the moment. Only 2 areas of interest, which is actually not as many as we've seen recently, though we do have a storm. And welcome to day 7 of the Atlantic hurricane season, day 24 in the Eastern Pacific, and Tropical Storm Andrea has made landfall in northern Florida this evening. Currently the wind speeds are 50 miles per hour after peaking as a 65 mile per hour storm. We also have 2 invests out in the northern hemisphere at the moment. Invest 92L in the Atlantic, which now has a 10% chance of formation in the central Atlantic, and 98W, which is in the Western Pacific. You can see it here. And welcome to day 8 of the Atlantic hurricane season, day 25 in the Eastern Pacific, and we have a few systems at the moment. Of course, Tropical Storm Andrea making landfall in Florida initially, now moving up the east coast of the United States and about to reach the coast of Virginia as an extratropical storm. It's turned post-tropical earlier this afternoon. We also have 2 Invest 92L in the Atlantic, which currently has a near zero chance of development, and 98W in the Pacific, which has a very high chance of development. Indeed, it's already been tagged as a tropical depression in the Philippines. Welcome to day 9 of the Atlantic hurricane season. That's day 26 in the Eastern Pacific, and we currently have 2 storms still going. Well, extratropical storm Andrea, post-tropical storm Andrea, is still going through Nova Scotia and Newfoundland at the moment. And we also have a new storm, Tropical Storm Yagi, which is in the Western Pacific. Philippine name is Danta. June the 9th, as of midnight, this is the current situation. No invest currently out there, just the 2 storms. And welcome to day 10 of the 2013 Atlantic hurricane season, day 27 in the Eastern Pacific, and we currently have 2 systems still going at the moment. Extratropical Storm Andrea, which has now moved clear of Newfoundland and is out into the North Atlantic Sea, moving rapidly towards the east-northeast. And we also have Tropical Storm Yagi, which is currently in the Western Pacific, not intensifying at the moment, but still remains a tropical storm with 40 miles per hour winds. And welcome to day 11 of the Atlantic hurricane season, day 28 in the Eastern Pacific. It's June the 11th, and as of midnight UTC, there's still 2 systems out there at the moment. Extratropical Storm Andrea moving its way across the Atlantic. Not too much to say about this one now, really, just tracking for the sake of continuity. And of course, Tropical Storm Yagi, which has intensified to reach possible peak wind speeds of 60 miles per hour and a pressure of 985 millibars, and you can see it here. Welcome to day 12 of the Atlantic hurricane season, day 29 in the Eastern Pacific, and we currently have a few new invests, 2 new invests that have formed since the last update. Invest 93E in the Eastern Pacific, currently with a 10% chance as of the narrating time, and Invest 99W in the Western Pacific in the South China Sea. And of course we have Tropical Storm Yagi, which is weakening as it approaches the coast of Japan as a tropical storm at the moment. Welcome to day 13 in the Atlantic Ocean, the Atlantic hurricane season, day 30 in the Eastern Pacific, and of course the season runs year-round in the Western Pacific, where we have 2 systems at the moment. Tropical Depression Yagi, which has weakened and is currently in the process of dissipating off the coast of Japan, and Invest 99W in the South China Sea. We also had Invest 93 until earlier today, when it was declassified by the National Hurricane Center earlier in the day. And welcome to day 14 of the Atlantic hurricane season, day 31 in the Eastern Pacific, and of course day whatever it may be in the Western Pacific, where the season is year-round, and that's where the action is at the moment. 2 areas of interest: extratropical storm, you could call that, I suppose, Yagi, which dissipated yesterday, is still going near the Japanese coast, and we also have Invest 99W, which now has a medium chance of development. And welcome to day 16 of the Atlantic hurricane season, day 34 in the Eastern Pacific. But as you can see, all those areas at the moment are very quiet on the map, the overview map at the moment. Where all the action is going on at the moment is the Western Pacific region, where we have 2 invests, and we also at one point we had 4 areas of interest. But that has since fallen to 2, with just the 2 active invests, 99W and 91W. And welcome to day 17 of the Atlantic Hurricane Season, day 35 in the Eastern Pacific, and we have a new invest in the Atlantic 93L, which is very close to the Nicaragua-Honduras border at the moment, and may have a little bit of maybe forming very briefly before striking bellies and then moving on to the southern Gulf of Mexico. 30% chance on that one at the moment. We also have Invest 91W, which has already been named by the Philippines Imong, and 92W in the Western Pacific as well in the South China Sea. And it is day 18 in the Atlantic hurricane season, day 36 in the Eastern Pacific, and we currently have a few tropical disturbances at the moment, two interesting ones as well, two tropical depressions that have formed in the past day, Tropical Depression 2 in the Atlantic and Tropical Depression 4 in the Western Pacific at the moment, and these storms may turn into name storms in the next few days. And we also have two other Invest 92W and 93W in the Western Pacific area, both with low chances of development. Number 4W Imong is the Pacific name on that one at the moment, just the Philippines name rather. It's just to the east of the Philippines at the moment. It's expected to move towards the north, affecting the Japanese chain islands and then perhaps the Japanese mainland in the next few days. And welcome to day 19 of the Atlantic hurricane season, day 37 in the Eastern Pacific, and we currently have a few systems of interest in the northern and southern hemisphere. Tropical Depression 2 still going near the Gulf of Mexico, Tropical Storm Leapy in the Western Pacific, and two Invest 94W in the South China Sea, and 97S, which has just formed to the south of Indonesia in the Indian Ocean. And welcome to day 20 of the Atlantic hurricane season, day 38 in the Eastern Pacific, and we currently have two tropical storms active at the moment. Tropical Storm Barry in the Atlantic in the Gulf of Mexico, which has just intensified to a 45 mile per hour storm, and Tropical Storm Leapy in the Western Pacific, which is moving over the Yaeyama and Miyako Islands in Japan at the moment as a tropical storm with 40 mile per hour winds. Two other invests active as well in the Western Pacific, you can see them here. 94W currently with a medium chance of development, and that's likely to be raised very soon as the Japan Meteorological Agency has already designated as a tropical depression. We also have Leapy, Philippine name Imong, moving towards the north, and Invest 95W, which is not too far from the international dateline near Micronesia at the moment. And welcome to day 22 of the Atlantic hurricane season, day 40 in the Eastern Pacific, and that's where we have two new invests at the moment. Invest 94E, which currently has a medium chance of development, and 95E, which currently has a low chance of development in the Eastern Pacific. In the Western Pacific, action going on here as well. What's left of Leapy still going through Japan. Bebinka is the current storm expected to strike China as a tropical storm, and two invests out there as well. So here we are with a packed, annotated satellite image here. And welcome to day 23 of the Atlantic hurricane season, day 41 in the Eastern Pacific, and that's where the action is at the moment. Invest 94 currently with a high chance of development, Invest 95E with a medium chance at the moment. In the Western Pacific, things still going on there as well. Tropical depression Bebinka downgraded from a tropical storm, I think it was yesterday now, as it moved over the island of Hainan, and Invest 95W as well in the Western Pacific. Not too much going on with that system at the moment. And welcome to day 24 in the Atlantic hurricane season, day 42 in the Eastern Pacific. It's June the 24th, 2013 today, and we have a new tropical depression in the Eastern Pacific itself, Tropical Depression 3E, and that's expected to become a tropical storm very shortly during the next 24 hours, and perhaps a hurricane later on. We also have in the Western Pacific what's left of Tropical Depression Bebinka, which is now in over Vietnam at the moment. There isn't too much left of that storm. You can see the Pacific overview here. 95W was also with us but has been declassified earlier today. And welcome to day 25 in the Atlantic hurricane season, day 43 in the Eastern Pacific, and that's the only location where we've got action going on at the moment in the form of Tropical Storm Cosme as a tropical storm at the moment, and is intensifying rather steadily to become perhaps a hurricane in the next few days. As a matter of fact, it's quite likely now that Cosme will become a hurricane in the next 24 hours. And welcome to day 26 of the Atlantic hurricane season, day number 44 in the Eastern Pacific, and that's where we have the biggest system at the moment, Hurricane Cosme, which is currently an 80 mile per hour hurricane, category 1 strength at the moment, and is likely to start to weaken very soon as it moves out over colder waters. We also have two new invests that formed today, 97W and 98W, both in the Western Pacific out in the open seas. 98W not too far from the international dateline, 97W near the Micronesian Islands. And welcome to day 29 of the Atlantic hurricane season, day number 47 in the Eastern Pacific, and that's where we have our next system trying to form at the moment, 96E, which has currently got a high chance of development at the moment. Tropical storm Cosme turned remnant low earlier yesterday, or maybe the day before actually now, and we also have a new storm in the Western Pacific, Rumbia, which is moving through the Philippines at the moment, so obviously lots of warnings in effect over there at the moment. We'll go on to that very shortly. And welcome to day 30 of the Atlantic hurricane season, June the 30th, 2013. It's day 48 in the Eastern Pacific, where we still have Invest 96E, which now has a very high chance of development, though having said that, it did last night, but it's even higher this evening, near 100% chance of becoming a tropical cyclone in the next 48 hours. And we also have Tropical Storm Rumbia rumbling through the Philippines at the moment as a tropical storm, currently warnings in effect there for the northern parts of the Philippines at the moment. And welcome to day number 31 of the Atlantic hurricane season, day 49 in the Eastern Pacific. It's July the 1st, the first day of July 2013, and we currently have two storms active at the moment. Tropical Storm Delilah in the Eastern Pacific, still moving towards the north-northwesterly direction, and Tropical Storm Rumbia in the Western Pacific, that's moving up to the northwest as well, in the South China Sea at the moment. We also have one invest active, that's indicated on the map there near Palau. And welcome to day 32 of the Atlantic hurricane season, day number 50 in the Eastern Pacific, where we currently have two systems, Tropical Storm Delilah, which is strengthening and is likely to reach hurricane status in the early hours of this morning, UTC, and Invest 97E, which has just formed in the past hour or so before this update. We also have Tropical Storm Rumbia, which was a typhoon earlier today and has made landfall in China in the past hour or two. That's currently still moving towards the northwest, just past Hainan Island, and then made landfall on China itself, the mainland, and is expected to move inland. Day 34 of the Atlantic hurricane season, day number 52 in the Eastern Pacific, and that's where the action is at the moment, most of it anyway. Tropical Storm Delilah weakening from a hurricane to a tropical storm status now at the moment, 70 mile per hour winds on that one, and the next storm in the making, Invest 97E, now with a high chance of development. Tropical cyclone formation alert has been issued on that storm, as it's expected to form in the next 48 hours or less. We also have Invest 91W that's formed in the Western Pacific, very close to the western coast of the Philippines in the South China Sea, but currently the models do not predict that one to form, at least the models I've seen anyway. And welcome to day 35 of the Atlantic hurricane season, day number 53 in the Eastern Pacific, and that's where all the action's going on at the moment. That's the only location where we have tropical storms, tropical systems going on actively. First of all, Tropical Storm Delilah, which is currently weakening. It's been weakening continuously throughout today, and after it began yesterday, as it weakened from a hurricane, is now a weak tropical storm, likely to become a tropical depression very soon. And we have a new tropical depression that's formed in the Pacific Ocean to the east, near Mexico, Tropical Depression 5E, that's likely to be named in the next few hours. Day 37 of the Atlantic hurricane season, day number 55 in the Eastern Pacific, and we currently have quite a few systems active. Obviously, first of all, Hurricane Eric, that's the main system at the moment near the Mexican coastline. Tropical Depression Delilah still hanging on at the moment, expected to turn post-tropical very soon. And we have three invests elsewhere, two in the Atlantic, one in the Central Atlantic, and an invest in the open Pacific at the moment, 92W. There it is on the left-hand side of the screen there. And Delilah and Eric still going in the Eastern Pacific. And welcome to day 38 of the Atlantic Hurricane season, day number 56 in the Eastern Pacific, and that's where we still have the action at the moment, though there is lots of stuff going on elsewhere now. Tropical Storm Eric beginning to weaken near the Mexican coastline, though still posing a threat to the Baja California Peninsula. Invest 95L in the Atlantic now with a high chance of development into a tropical depression or even a tropical storm as it moves towards the west-northwest. More on that shortly. And also two other systems as well. Tropical Depression 7, which has formed in the Western Pacific, likely to become a tropical storm and even a typhoon, and could pose a real threat to Taiwan and parts of Japan and China. And welcome to day 39 of the Atlantic Hurricane season, day number 57 in the Eastern Pacific, and we currently have three storms out there in the Northern Hemisphere at the moment. Tropical Storm Eric, which is still going very close to the Baja California Peninsula, making its closest approach at the moment. Tropical Storm Chantal, which is going to move through the Lesser Antilles over the next day or two, and then onto the Greater Antilles after that. And Typhoon Sulik as well, which has rapidly intensified, you could say, I suppose. Quick intensification nonetheless. And is expected to move towards the west-northwest as quite a fearsome cyclone over the next few days. More on that in just a moment. And welcome to day 40 of the Atlantic Hurricane season, day number 58 in the Eastern Pacific, and we currently have two tropical systems, tropical cyclones that are active. We did have three until sometime yesterday when Eric turned into a remnant low off the coast of the Baja California Peninsula in Mexico. Tropical Storm Chantal still going in the Atlantic, or indeed still going strong, as a 65 mile per hour tropical storm could intensify further yet. And Typhoon Sulik, which is, well, doing fairly well as a Category 4 storm in the Western Pacific. And now obviously that could be a very dangerous situation for parts of the Asian continent in the next few days. Welcome to day 42 of the Atlantic Hurricane season, day number 60 in the Eastern Pacific, though there isn't any activity going on over there at the moment. The Atlantic, we still have the remnants of Chantal, which has also been designated as Invest 96 now, with a 30% chance of development at the moment as it moves through Cuba or near the Cuban coast towards the northwest at the moment. But all our attention is pretty much on Typhoon Sulik at the moment, which is a Category 2 storm, a high-end Cat 2 storm, 110 miles per hour, and is likely to make landfall in Taiwan and then in China as a typhoon, possibly a major storm as well if Sulik does indeed develop, intensify a little bit more south of the eye, which is probably bad news for Taiwan in terms of heavy rainfall, which will probably lead to flooding and indeed strong winds of Category 2 force, maybe even gusting to Category 3 typhoon force. So this is the current full picture then, July the 12th. You can see Sulik is the only thing going on apart from extratropical, well, remnants of Chantal, which may or may not regenerate, probably not at this stage. Taiwan, obviously very mountainous terrain over some parts of Taiwan, will probably cause some flooding in those locations if obviously it hasn't caused some issues already. Looking at the world tropics then, July the 13th, Typhoon Sulik obviously making landfall. Invest 93W is also in the Pacific now, and that could develop into a storm. We're hinting at that one, and the remnants of Chantal still going in the Atlantic. And welcome to day 45 of the Atlantic Hurricane season, day number 63 in the Eastern Pacific. At the moment there are no systems currently active in the Eastern Pacific or the Atlantic, but we do still have some systems in the Western Pacific. What was Typhoon Sulik is still going as a tropical depression over China, though there really isn't much left of it at this stage. And we do have an Invest 93W, which currently has a medium chance of development. As you'll see here on the Pacific overview, you can see 93W, which is located just to the east of the Philippines. And welcome to day 46 of the Atlantic Hurricane season, day number 64 in the Eastern Pacific. It's July the 16th, and there is currently only one system active at the moment, and that's in the Western Pacific. Tropical Depression 8W has formed in the past few hours and is likely to become the next tropical storm in the Western Pacific and indeed in the whole world. That's currently designated name Isang in the Philippines, the Philippine name for it that is, because the storm is very close to the Philippine coast at the moment, moving towards the northwest. And welcome to day 47 of the Atlantic Hurricane season, day number 65 in the Eastern Pacific. It's July the 17th, and this is the world tropics at the moment. You can see it's quite quiet at the moment, apart from the one system that we currently have, Tropical Depression 8W in the Western Pacific, just off the coast of the Philippines. It may have even made landfall in the past few hours or so on the island of Luzon in the northern Philippines, and could turn into a tropical storm in a day or so. And welcome to day 48 of the Atlantic Hurricane season, day number 66 in the Eastern Pacific. It's July the 18th. Currently, as of midnight UTC, there are 3 systems active in the Western Pacific. That's the only place where we've got active systems at the moment. Tropical Storm Cimarron, which is currently with wind speeds of 45 miles per hour, and 2 Invest, 94W and 95W, both in the Western Pacific. 94W, first of all, in the South China Sea, and that may form in the next few days, and Invest 95W, which is basically just a few clouds with a swirl around it. Welcome to day 53 of the Atlantic Hurricane season, day number 71 in the Eastern Pacific, if I'm not mistaken. Currently 4 Invests currently are located in the Northern Hemisphere at the moment, 98E in the Eastern Pacific, 98L in the Atlantic near Africa as a matter of fact, 98W, all the 98s are out in the Western Pacific near Vietnam, and 99W, which is out at sea in the Western Pacific at the moment. So let's go through them all now. Day 54 of the Atlantic Hurricane season, day number 72 in the Eastern Pacific, where we currently have a few Invests which are still located in the Northern Hemisphere. First of all, Invest 98E, which has a medium chance development out in the open Eastern Pacific, moving out to sea at the moment. Invest 98L, which is the one we're watching in particular, because that has a high chance of development now into a tropical depression, maybe a tropical storm for the Atlantic, in the Central Atlantic, as it will be moving into very shortly. And 98W in the Western Pacific, which is just off the Chinese coast at the moment, in the South China Sea. That one isn't likely to form in the next 2 days. Day 55 of the Atlantic Hurricane season, day 73 in the Eastern Pacific. It's July the 25th, and we currently have quite a few systems active. Currently, Invest 98E in the Eastern Pacific with an 80% chance of development now. We have Tropical Storm Dorian in the Atlantic, which has formed just west of the Cape Verde Islands, and also Invest 99L in the Atlantic too, which has formed to the east of Bermuda. We also have 2 Invests currently active in the Eastern Pacific, 98W and 90W, which are both in the South China Sea. Day 56 of the Atlantic Hurricane season, day number 74 in the Eastern Pacific. It's July the 26th, and we currently have 2 storms active. Tropical Storm Flossie in the Eastern Pacific, moving out to sea, and Tropical Storm Dorian, which is in the Atlantic, currently a 60-mile-per-hour storm. Flossie's at 45. Currently 2 Invests as well in the Pacific, the Western Pacific. Invest 90W and 91W, both active at the moment. 90W very close to the Chinese coast, and 91W just east of the Philippines right now, both of them with a low chance of development at the moment, but that may change as time goes on. Day 59 of the Atlantic Hurricane season, day number 77 in the Eastern Pacific. It's good to be back, by the way. Here I am after a 2 or 3 day absence. It's July the 29th, and we currently have a few systems active. Currently, first of all, Tropical Storm Flossie, which is bearing down on the Hawaiian Islands. Invest 91L, which is what was Dorian once upon a time, could redevelop into a tropical storm, perhaps 50% chance on that one at the moment. And 2 Invests in the Western Pacific, mainly over the Philippines, 91W and 92W, in that big cluster of clouds over there towards the Philippines. 91W towards the moving over the Philippine Islands at the moment, the Visayas region, and the 92W, which is just east of the Mindanao region of the Philippines. Welcome to day 60 of the Atlantic Hurricane season, day 78 in the Eastern Pacific, and that's where we currently have a storm at the moment, Tropical Storm Flossie, which is currently weakening as it approaches the Hawaiian Islands in the Central Pacific. That's still the eastern half of the Pacific, you could say. We also have 91L, which was Dorian once upon a time, to the north of Puerto Rico at the moment, with a 30% chance of redevelopment, and an Invest in the Western Pacific, 91W, currently located near the Philippines. That graphic did show 92W on there, but that has since been declassified. And also, in the past hour, very recently actually, in the past few minutes, as of the narrating time, a new Invest has formed in the Eastern Pacific as well. The National Hurricane Center had a low chance of development on that one, 99E it would be. Day 61 of the Atlantic Hurricane season, day number 78 in the Eastern Pacific. It's July the 31st, the last day of July, and we currently have quite a few systems active at the moment. What's left of Flossie has now left Hawaii and is very much a remnant low, but we also have a new tropical storm, Tropical Storm Jill, in the Eastern Pacific right now, with another Invest behind it with a high chance of development. In the Western Pacific, 91W has a high chance of development as well, and 2 other Invests are currently located in the Western Pacific. You can see them all here in a long line. Jelena is the Philippine name for the Western Pacific storm, which is likely to form. 93W off to the east of the Philippines, 94W out at sea. Post-tropical storm Flossie moving off to the west-northwest. Jill and 90E, both located in the eastern section of the Eastern Pacific. Day 62 of the Atlantic hurricane season, day 80 in the Eastern Pacific. It's August the 1st, the first day of August 2013, and we currently have one hurricane active in the Eastern Pacific. That's Hurricane Gil, moving off to the west-northwest at the moment. 75 mile per hour winds on that one, and also 90E, the invest still going. It was very likely to form last night, but it's fizzled out and is still at 50%. But we also have another tropical storm as well, JB in the Western Pacific. That's Jelena, the Philippine name, and two invest, 93W and 94W. So it's all going on in the Pacific at the moment. That's the only place where we have action going on, but there's quite a lot of it. You can see all five systems active here at the moment on the Pacific wide view, and it's day 63 of the Atlantic hurricane season, day 81 in the Eastern Pacific, and that's where we have a hurricane active at the moment, Hurricane Gil, currently with winds of 80 miles per hour. We also have an invest 90E in the Eastern Pacific. The Atlantic is still fairly quiet, though. We do have 91L, which has resurfaced near the Bahamas, and in the Western Pacific we have quite a bit of activity still going on. Tropical storm JB, which is intensifying, and two invests currently located in the Western Pacific. You can see them here, invest 93W and invest 94W currently located in the Western Pacific. 93W near Taiwan at this point, and 94W just north of Papua New Guinea. Day 64 of the Atlantic hurricane season, day 82 in the Eastern Pacific, and we currently have a number of systems active at the moment. Tropical storm Gil has weakened from hurricane strength, as well as two invests in the Eastern Pacific at the moment. 91L is up to a medium chance, 50% as a matter of fact, near the Bahamas at the moment. And we also have tropical storm JB, which is making landfall in northern Vietnam right now. It's already made landfall in Hainan in the past 24 hours, and that storm's obviously reaching the end of its life, but the effects of the storm will continue for a little while yet. Welcome to day 66 of the Atlantic hurricane season, day 84 in the Eastern Pacific, and that's where we have two systems out there at the moment. Tropical depression Gil, which has weakened from a tropical storm in the past 24 hours and is likely to dissipate or turn remnant low very soon, and a new storm, tropical storm Henriette, which has formed in the Eastern Pacific, likely to become a hurricane in the next few days. The remnants of Dorian have moved off to the northeast in the Atlantic and is not likely to re-intensify, and 94W is located, invest 94W, near the Philippines, near Palawan Island in particular, moving out over the South China Sea, and is likely to develop over the next 24 to 48 hours. Currently at medium chance of development at the moment, but that's likely to rise to high and then eventually probably become a tropical storm. Day 67 of the Atlantic hurricane season, day 85 in the Eastern Pacific. It's August 6, 2013, and we currently have three systems active at the moment. Tropical depression Gil, which is still going in the Eastern Pacific, heading towards Hawaii. We'll pass towards the south of that. Henriette, which formed yesterday, now intensifying fairly quickly, likely to become a hurricane in the next 24 hours. And a new system in the Western Pacific, 10W, depression 10W, Philippine name Kiko, moving into the South China Sea now, and expected to move towards the northwest towards Vietnam over the next few days. Welcome to day 68 of the Atlantic hurricane season, day 86 in the Eastern Pacific. It's the morning of August the 7th. Hello there, but three systems currently active. Tropical depression Gil, which weakened from a tropical storm which we achieved briefly earlier today. We also have Hurricane Henriette, which is intensifying, will probably reach category 2 status, and we have tropical storm Mangkhut, which is currently in the South China Sea, entering the Gulf of Tonkin, passing Hainan Island at the moment. Welcome to day 70 of the Atlantic hurricane season, day 88 in the Eastern Pacific. It's August the 9th, and we currently have a few systems active at the moment. First of all, Hurricane Henriette, which has attained category 2 status, 105 miles per hour at the moment, and we also have a new depression that has formed in the Western Pacific, tropical depression 11W, as well as three other invests that are currently active at the moment, four as a matter of fact, out in the Pacific at the moment, anything that has occurred in the past 24 hours. So looking at the World Tropics then, August the 10th, as of now we currently have Henriette out there in the Eastern Pacific, well the Central Pacific now, and 92E currently located in the Eastern Pacific, the invest. Utor of course moving towards the Philippines, and invest 97W in the South China Sea. More on those coming up this evening in the Tropical Weather Bulletin, which will also cover Utor in more detail as well. Day 73 of the Atlantic hurricane season, day 91 in the Eastern Pacific. It's August the 12th, and we currently have a few systems active at the moment. First of all, the most noteworthy of course is Typhoon Utor, which made landfall in the Philippines, in Luzon in the northern Philippines in the past few hours as a category 4 typhoon with 140 mile per hour winds. Quite a strong system, intense storm. We currently have a few other systems as well. Henriette has finally degenerated into a remnant low in the Pacific, just south of the Hawaiian Islands, certainly too much of a distance to affect those islands. And we currently have some invests out there as well. 97W in the South China Sea, just south of Hainan now. 92E, which is currently located in the Eastern Pacific, in between the American continent and Hawaii. It's day 74 of the Atlantic hurricane season, day 92 in the Eastern Pacific. It's August the 13th, and we currently have a few systems active at the moment. Invest 92E in the Eastern Pacific there, which had a high chance of development. That's recently been lowered slightly to 50%. We also have Invest 90S in the Southern Indian Ocean, and we also have Typhoon Utor, which is currently strengthening once more in the South China Sea after clearing the Philippines and is now headed for China. As quite an intense typhoon, probably Category 3. Maybe even on landfall. We'll go on to that very shortly. And welcome to day 75 of the Atlantic hurricane season. It's day 93 in the Eastern Pacific, and that's where we have two invests at the moment. We actually have two invests in both the Eastern Pacific and in the Atlantic now. We currently have 90C towards the Central Pacific, 92E still going in the Eastern Pacific, 92L in the Caribbean, and 93L, which has just moved off the African coastline over the past day or so. We also have 90S still going in the South Indian Ocean, which isn't likely to develop, and of course Utor, which is what we're really tracking at this moment in time. A Category 2 typhoon, a high-end Cat 2 typhoon about to make landfall in China in the next few hours. It's day 76 of the Atlantic hurricane season, day 94 in the Eastern Pacific. It's August the 15th, and we currently have quite a few systems active at the moment. I believe there's 5 or 6 invests. 90C still going in the Central Pacific, 92E still going as well into the Central Pacific now, and the 2 invests in the Atlantic which are likely to form in the next 24 hours, 92L in the Caribbean and 93L near the African coast, near the Cape Verde Islands as a matter of fact. We also have Utor, the final few hours probably of the storm's classification as a tropical storm over land in China at this time. That's the current situation with Utor, and the 2 invests as well in Western Pacific, 98W, which is just south of the Japanese islands, and 99W, which is further out to sea in the Western Pacific. There's the map, the overview. Day 77 of the Atlantic hurricane season. It's day 95 in the Eastern Pacific, and that's where we have a few systems active at the moment in both basins, as a matter of fact. 3 invests in the Central Pacific, 2 of them likely to form in the next 24 to 48 hours. And we also have 92L, which is currently located over the Yucatan Peninsula, and Tropical Storm Erin, which formed in the past 24 hours near the Cape Verde Islands, moving out to sea now into the Central Pacific as a minimal tropical storm at this time. In the Western Pacific as well, we have what's left of Utor currently inland over China, and we currently have the 2 invests, 98W, which is located to the southeast of Taiwan, and 99W, which is further out to sea, quite far to the southeast of the Japanese islands at this time. 90C and 91C likely to form, 80% chance on 90C, 60% chance on 91C. Day 78 of the Atlantic hurricane season, day 96 in the Eastern Pacific, and that's where we have our latest tropical storm, Tropical Storm Pewa, which is currently moving through the Central Pacific and is likely to enter the Western Pacific Basin very soon, in about a day's time. We also have an Invest 90C to the southwest of Hawaii, 92L of course in the southern Gulf of Mexico, and Tropical Depression Erin, which is moving through the central Atlantic at this time, as well as invests in the Western Pacific, which are likely to form over the next few days. At least 98W and 99W are currently with a high chance of development. Tropical cyclone formation alerts currently issued on that one. The remnants of Utor are still going inland over China, and 90W is located out at sea in the far eastern part of the Western Pacific. Day 79 of the Atlantic hurricane season, day 97 in the Eastern Pacific, where we currently have a storm that's just about to cross over into the Western Pacific, Tropical Storm Pewa, which is currently moving towards the west-northwest. 65 miles per hour makes it the strongest storm in the world at the moment. We also have a few invests, 92L in the Atlantic, still in the southern Gulf of Mexico, Tropical Storm Erin as well, which is currently hanging on to minimal tropical storm status, and 2 new depressions in the Western Pacific, at least one of which is likely to develop into a tropical storm. That would be 12W over the next few days. You can see them interacting slightly as well, fairly close to each other. Day 80 of the Atlantic hurricane season, day 98 in the Eastern Pacific. It's August the 19th, and as you can see here on the overview map, we have a few systems active at the moment, though a few dwindling as well, especially in the case of Erin, which is now a remnant low. We do have 2 invests still in the Atlantic and the Pacific, 94L, which has formed off the African coastline and could be our next storm, 90C, which is about to follow Pewa into the Western Pacific over the international dateline, and the Western Pacific itself is fairly active at the moment with a few storms. Trami, of course, which is the named storm now to the southeast of Japan. Peiwa, which has moved into the basin, moving towards the northwest, and is likely to become a typhoon. What's left of 13W, which has now moved into China, and still what's left of Utor, which is lingering over inland China at the moment. Day 82 of the Atlantic hurricane season. It's day 100 in the Eastern Pacific. It's August the 21st, and we currently have a active in the Eastern Pacific, 94E, but more importantly we have two tropical storms in the Western Pacific at the moment. Tropical storm Trami, which is just shy of typhoon status as it moves through the southern Ryukyu Islands in Japan, and we also have tropical storm Peiwa, which is currently heading towards the northwest near Wake Island at this time. We also have tropical depression 3C, which is just on the international dateline at the moment and is likely to be absorbed by Peiwa over the next 24 hours or so, over Taiwan in the next few hours. So let's take a look at the world tropics quickly then. As of August the 21st at 3 PM UTC, 94E is likely to become a tropical storm in the next few hours. 60% chance of development over the next 2 days. Trami, of course, moving into China now, and Peiwa still going weakened now to 40 miles per hour and is moving towards the northwest. There it is as well in the Pacific Ocean. This is the wide shot of the satellite imagery, California Peninsula, and eventually turn post-tropical as a depression. So this is the world tropics at the moment as of August 23rd at 9 PM UTC. Evo, the only system in the Eastern Pacific at the moment. The Western Pacific, we have two systems, 91W and Invest, which is located between Palau and the Philippines, and Peiwa, which is still going as a tropical depression moving towards the north, not affecting any areas at the moment, and probably won't. Day 86 of the Atlantic hurricane season, day 104 in the Eastern Pacific. We currently have a tropical storm in the Eastern Pacific, tropical storm Evo, which is currently moving towards the Baja California Peninsula, but is not likely to threaten that area for much longer, if at all, because it's weakening very quickly and all warnings that were in effect not long ago have been lifted. We currently have an Invest in the Western Pacific, 91W, in between the Philippines and Palau, and tropical depression Peiwa, which is still going just about in the northern Western Pacific area, well out at sea, not affecting any areas of land at this time. More prolonged flooding as well, maybe, as a result. So let's take a look at the world tropics then. As of August 26th, there currently are a few storms, or X-storms, active. Fernand is the only one that's still active at the moment. X-Evo, which is a post-tropical storm, and X-Peiwa as well, which is also a post-tropical storm in the Pacific, and 91W, which is expected to form in the Western Pacific over the next day or two, the next few days. The Ryukyu Islands may get away with not too much in terms of bad conditions. The Yaeyama Islands will probably be more of a concern than any of the others. The Miyako Islands may get away completely, especially if it moves a bit more towards the west. So let's take a look at the current world tropics. August the 27th, as of 6 PM UTC. Kongray is the only tropical storm out there at the moment, though we do have a number of invests across the Pacific. 92W in the South China Sea, 93W east of Kongray, 95E, which is in the Eastern Pacific near Mexico, and 96E, which is further towards the southeast, a little bit further out to sea, and that's more likely to form than 95E. Day 90 in the Atlantic hurricane season, day 108 in the Eastern Pacific, and that's where we have a new storm active right now, tropical storm Juliet, which has formed just off the Mexican coastline. It's expected to strike the Baja California Peninsula as a tropical storm in the next 24 hours or so, before moving out to sea and degenerating into a remnant low. We also have tropical storm Kongray in the Western Pacific, Philippine named Nando, near the Taiwanese islands, and Japan as well, of course, and it's expected to move towards the north and then towards the northeast. We also have three invests active in the Pacific at the moment. 92W in the northern section of the South China Sea, 93W and 94W both out at sea in the Western Pacific, none of which are likely to form, at least yet, but that may change as time goes on. Day 93 of the Atlantic hurricane season, day 111 in the Eastern Pacific, and that's where we have a storm at this time. Tropical storm Kiko, which has formed in the past few hours, rapidly intensifying into a 60-mile-per-hour tropical storm. We currently have many invests out there as well, I think 6 in total, throughout the Atlantic and in the South Indian Ocean as well as the West Pacific too, and the remnants of Kongray, which are moving out to sea beyond Japan now, not likely to threaten any other land areas, obviously, as it moves out towards the Northern Pacific. This is the Pacific Ocean. The wide shot satellite imagery, then you can see all three invests in the Western Pacific there. 96W, which is the most likely to form. 93W and 94W not likely to form over the next few days. 96W is the one we'll be watching out for because the models do develop that one over the next few days. Kiko is expected to move towards Mexico but not go anywhere or make any landfall anywhere, that is. The Atlantic Ocean, things looking, well, I would say fairly quiet, but it isn't really, is it? 2 invests out there, but none of them are likely to develop over the next few days, so it is quiet in that sense. 96L, which has just been downgraded from medium chance to low chance in the next 48 hours to 20%. Just now at the midnight UTC update on September the 1st, and 92S as well, which is located in the South Indian Ocean. A little bit of a disturbance down there early on in the season, or the season hasn't even started yet down there, but rumblings and things, signs of things to come down there. But yes, until then, that is all for now. The next bulletin, well, there isn't going to be another bulletin in future because they're being discontinued now, but don't panic. They're going to be replaced by standard updates for individual storms whenever they are active. So not only is it a bit more efficient, I got the word out in the end, but it's also less workload for me because I do have a personal life as well, so it takes a little bit of work off myself the way we're going to be doing it in future. But don't worry, we won't be missing out on any tropical weather updates in particular, so please do stay tuned. The next update will probably be a tropical storm update on Kiko. That will be sometime tomorrow, September the 1st, during the day probably, UTC. But until then, that's all. It won't even get beyond moderate, so but can still cause, of course, conditions inclement weather on the Japanese islands. So as of September the 2nd then, this is the current situation across the world. Kiko in the Eastern Pacific, 97L moving through the Lesser Antilles right now, 92S still in the South Indian Ocean, Taraji of course, and 94W towards its east. And we also have U2 as well, which is currently located near the international date line designated by the Japanese Meteorological Agency. So let's take a look at the world so far then. You can see Tropical Depression Kiko very close to becoming a remnant low now. Invest 99E near the Mexican coast, 97L over the Lesser Antilles at the moment, 98L which is just off the coast of Africa, Invest 92S still going in the South Indian Ocean, and we also have Invest 98W and Invest 97W in the Pacific. 97W also known as U2, that's been classified as a tropical storm by the Japanese Meteorological Agency, weakening as time goes on. So let's take a look at the world tropics then. As of 3 PM UTC on September the 3rd, post-tropical storm Kiko near the Baja California Peninsula, 99E the Invest near the Mexican coastline with a 50% chance of development, 97L over the Lesser Antilles with a 20% chance of development, 98L, 92S, and the ones in the Western Pacific as well, Islands as well. So let's take a look at the world tropics then. You can see Tropical Depression 12E has formed in the Eastern Pacific. We might have an update on that one later on as well, near Mexico. Tropical Storm Gabrielle, of course, near Puerto Rico right now. Nothing else going on in the Atlantic just yet. Well, there is 99L, that's an Invest that's just formed in the past hour or two, with 2 or 3 Invests still active in the Western Pacific as well. Invest 99L has formed in the past hour or two near the Yucatan Peninsula, likely to move over the southern Gulf of Mexico, and currently has a 20% chance of forming in the next 48 hours. Obviously, as it moves out to sea. So this is September the 9th. The world tropics at the moment, fairly quiet, to be quite honest. We have the remnants of Gabrielle, that's an Invest 92, and we also have Tropical Depression 9, of course. And then moving over to the Pacific, we have Invest 93W in the Western Pacific, not too far from the international date line. But those are the 3 systems that are active in the world at the moment. Quite little, really, for the beginning of September. It's quite an active period in the tropics, but this is the Atlantic Ocean. You can see Tropical Depression 9 over there, and 92L towards the western half of the Atlantic. At least not yet. So as of September the 9th at 3 PM UTC, this is the current situation in the world tropics. You can see what's left of Gabrielle moving towards the north, still with a 20% chance of development. That's also known as Invest 92 now. Tropical Storm Humberto, of course, near the Cape Verde Islands, and we have 3 new Invests in the Western Pacific, 94, 95 and 96W, currently located in the South China Sea and out at sea as well, on the other side of the Philippines, one near Palau and one near the Mariana Islands, moving towards the north or north-northwest in the next day. So as of September 11th at 12 o'clock UTC, we currently have a few systems active. Invest 94C south of Hawaii, 93L in the Atlantic, moving over the Yucatan Peninsula now with a 30% chance of development. Tropical Storm Gabrielle weakening near Bermuda. Humberto, obviously the first hurricane of the season, and Invest 97W in the Western Pacific right now. On the forecast. So September the 12th, 2013, what's going on in the tropics right now? Invest 90E in the Eastern Pacific, 93L in the Atlantic, which could develop into our next storm. Tropical Storm Gabrielle, of course, and Hurricane Humberto still going as a strong Category 1 hurricane to the northwest of the Cape Verde Islands. We also have Invest 97W in the Western Pacific, which is also likely to become a storm over there as well, 4 hours before approaching the Japanese coast. So let's take a look at the world right now then. Invest 90E, first of all, in the Eastern Pacific could become our next storm to form worldwide. We also have Tropical Depression 10L, which could also form into a tropical storm very soon in the southern Gulf of Mexico. Tropical Depression Gabrielle, well on the way to turning post-tropical. Humberto, which has just weakened to a tropical storm. And of course, Manny right now. So this is the world tropics at the moment, very busy right now. Tropical Depression 13E has also just formed in the Eastern Pacific, which could be our next storm over there. Tropical Storm Ingrid and Humberto right now, and Tropical Depression Gabrielle, and of course Tropical Storm Manny as well in the Western Pacific. So let's take a look at the Atlantic picture then. You can see all three systems right now, Ingrid, Gabrielle and Humberto moving from left to right. Ingrid obviously moving through the Gulf of Mexico, Gabrielle moving towards the north, possibly affecting Nova Scotia very soon, and Humberto remaining out to sea has just lost hurricane status in the past few hours down to a 70-mile-per-hour tropical storm as well, probably affecting southern Texas with a little bit of rainfall there too in a few days especially. So this is the world tropics right now. You can see two storms active on either side of Mexico, tropical storms Manuel and Ingrid right now. Humberto has just turned post-tropical in the past hour or so, and tropical storm Manny currently located south of Japan, moving towards the Japanese coast over the next few days. This is the Atlantic Ocean. You can see Ingrid right now near the Mexican coastline, and what's left of Humberto may regenerate in a day or two as it moves towards the northwest out to sea, other side of the Mexican landmass as well. So this is the world tropics right now as of September the 15th at 7 PM UTC. You can see Tropical Storm Manuel just shy of hurricane status but beginning to weaken now. Ingrid, of course, the hurricane 75 miles per hour down from 85. What the remnants of Humberto, which are likely to regenerate over the next few hours, and also the systems in the Pacific as well, the Western Pacific right now. Manny likely to make landfall in Japan very soon. Category 3 storm over the next few days depending on how things go. So this is the world tropics right now. You can see a few remnants of storms, Manuel and Ingrid, still going near Mexico as remnants. 95L, the Invest, just off the coast of the Yucatan Peninsula. Tropical Storm Humberto struggling out in the central Atlantic, and in the Western Pacific we have Usagi and two Invest 90W and Invest 98W. You can see them located either side of Usagi right now. I believe wind shear isn't too high in the area either. So the world tropics then, you can see what's going on right now. Manuel has also pulled off a similar stunt in intensification, fairly strong now, 70 miles per hour. Hurricane warnings in effect there, video following very soon. Invest 95, which is likely to form as it moves into the southern Gulf of Mexico. Tropical Storm Humberto still going, and also Tropical Depression 18W, which is currently moving inland over Vietnam right now. We also have an Invest 98W right now as well, just to the east of the Mariana Intensification before it begins to weaken, maybe to 165 miles per hour. But certainly, regardless of what intensity it draws close to Taiwan or the Philippines as, it will certainly be a very powerful storm, very dangerous storm as well. Hurricane Manuel currently located on the other side of the Pacific. Invest 95L in the Atlantic, likely to develop into a tropical storm. Humberto is now a tropical depression, very close to turning into a post-tropical storm. And out in the Pacific, here we are right now. Usagi, of course, moving towards the Philippines and Taiwan. 98W, the Invest, still going. That could be the next one that forms in the Western Pacific, but as of right now, there is no other systems active that we need to keep an eye on at this time. Areas that you find in Taiwan and parts of northern Philippines. So let's take a look at the world tropics then. You can see what's happening right now. It's fairly quiet elsewhere. We still have Invest 95L in the Atlantic over the Gulf of Mexico. We also have Usagi, of course, and the Invest 98W, which is also in the Pacific, possibly forming over the next few days, and also Invest 91W as well, which is located just to the northeast of that. But that's the current situation there with Usagi. Elsewhere in the world, not much else going on, as a matter of fact. Just the Western Pacific that's active at the moment. Nothing going on in the Eastern Pacific, nothing in the Atlantic, nothing in the Southern Hemisphere or the Indian Ocean right now. Just the two storms in the Western Pacific, Typhoon Usagi, which will not be a typhoon for much longer, and of course Tropical Storm Pabuk, which could be our next one. But we'll see how that one goes in due course. This is the current world tropics right now as of September 28th at 2 AM UTC. Invest 92E currently located off the coast of Mexico. We also have Invest 96L in the Atlantic now, not marked on here yet, but it is located in the central Atlantic, could form into a tropical depression there too. And in the Western Pacific, of course, Tropical Storm Wu-Tip and the 2 Invest there as well. That's 95W, located not too far from Palau, and 96W, which is located out to sea in the Western Pacific there, not really close to any particular land areas at this time, or in particular the Japanese islands right now, but the wider Pacific as well should be at least monitoring the progress of this storm. So the world tropics right now, we currently have an Invest in the Atlantic, 97L, which is south of Jamaica. We also have Tropical Storm Jerry, of course, which formed earlier today. An update on that coming up very shortly. Wu-Tip made landfall in Vietnam earlier today now, tropical storm near the border with Vietnam and Laos, and we also have the 2 other systems, Sepat, which has formed not too far from the Japanese Ogasawara Islands, and of course the new storm Fito, which has just formed in the past few hours into a tropical storm just now as well. So let's take a look at the world tropics right now. Of course, Invest 97L in the Atlantic in between Central America and Jamaica. Tropical Storm Jerry out to sea in the Central Atlantic, and we currently have 3 systems in the Western Pacific. That is what's left of Wu-Tip, which is moving over the Asian continent on the Bay of Bengal side now, closer to, and with the 2 storms as well, Fito and Sepat, of course, both of tropical storm intensity now. Sepat with 40 mile per hour winds, and Fito now, of course, with 60 miles per hour winds if it does move towards any of those islands and make any close approaches to them indeed. So right now then in the world it's fairly busy, as a matter of fact. Invest 93E currently located in the Eastern Pacific. Tropical Storm Karen has formed in the Atlantic and the Gulf of Mexico. It could be a problem for the Gulf Coast of the United States. Tropical Depression Jerry, which has just weakened now as it moves towards the Azores. Invest 99A in the North Indian Ocean, and of course the Western Pacific situation. Then Typhoon Vito, which is moving towards the north right now. Tropical Depression 23W, which has just formed not too far from the Mariana Islands, and Invest 99W, which is located far towards the east, not too far from the international dateline. Another one that could develop too. A few frames, little bits of white there as well, particularly intense parts of the cyclone. So looking right now in the world tropics, we have Invest 93E in the Eastern Pacific, 10% chance of development. Tropical Storm Karen, of course, in the Gulf of Mexico, likely to make landfall along the Gulf Coast of the United States. Jerry, what's left of it, not too far from the Azores now. Invest 99A in the Arabian Sea right now as well, not too far from the Indian coast. And this is the West Pacific right now. You can see Fito, of course, which is moving towards those Japanese islands. Tropical Storm Danas, which has also just formed, not too far from the Mariana Islands, just off to the north, as well as receive some typhoon conditions. China, as a small possibility, may see a typhoon landfall, but at the very least a strong tropical storm. So right now in the world tropics, Invest 93 out there in the Eastern Pacific, 20% chance of development. Tropical Storm Karen holding on its way to the Gulf Coast of the United States. We also have Typhoon Fito, of course. Tropical Storm Danas, which is strengthening fairly quickly, 65 miles per hour right now, could be even more. And Invest 99W, which is still going in the far east. We also have Invest 90W as well, which is located over Thailand at the moment and has a small chance of development over the next few days, but it's starting to build upon that western side as well now, which could mean bad news for Okinawa because it's expected to pass just to the east. So as of right now, October the 6th at 8 o'clock UTC PM, Tropical Depression 14E has formed in the Eastern Pacific just in the past hour or two. The remnants of Karen are still going near Louisiana. Invest 90W in the Western Pacific, of course. That, as I said, could develop into a tropical storm in the Indian Ocean. We also have Tropical Storm Vito, which is beginning to weaken now as it moves inland over China, just making landfall at the moment. Obviously, we have Typhoon Danas and Invest 99W, which is out near the international dateline for 5 intensity. Certainly, we'll have to see about how the storm performs over the next few days. So let's take a look at the world tropics then. You can see a number of systems out there. Tropical Depression Nada has just turned post-tropical in the past hour or so. Invest 94E currently has a high chance of development in the Eastern Pacific. 98L as well also has a chance of development, failing of course a category 3 storm in the Indian Ocean, and we have the 2 storms in the Western Pacific as well. Landfall first, the northeastern side of the storm, so we'll see how that one progresses. As of October the 11th at 3 PM UTC, this is the world tropic situation. The remnants of Nada in the Eastern Pacific, Invest 94E as well over there, which could develop. Invest 98L in the Atlantic could develop into a tropical storm. Of course, we have Phelan, and we also have those 2 systems in the Western Pacific. Typhoon Nari making landfall in the Philippines right now, and Tropical Storm Wifa. So currently in the Indian Ocean right now, this is what it looks like at the moment. Apart from Phelan, which pretty much takes up the whole of the Bay of Bengal, the rest of the Indian Ocean looking fairly quiet right now on the coastline there. So looking at the world tropics right now, this is the current situation. Invest 94E in the Eastern Pacific, 50% chance of development on that one. Same too for Invest 98L in the Atlantic. We also have, well, of course we have Fail in there making landfall, and in the Western Pacific, 2 typhoons, Nari and Whiffer, currently located on either side of the Philippines right now. As far as the Indian Ocean is concerned, that's Fail in there. You can see it making landfall in India right now. Nothing else looking like it's going to develop, possibly typhoon conditions as well, as I said earlier. So in the world tropics right now, we currently have 2 tropical storms in the Eastern Pacific, Octave and Priscilla, and we also have Invest 98L, which is not likely to develop near the Lesser Antilles. Phalin's well dissipated now over India. Obviously that one made landfall as a category 4 storm, and we have the 2 typhoons at the moment, Nari and Whiffer, both weakening at the moment. Nari's come down from 90 miles per hour 6 hours ago, and Whiffer's come down from 120 down to 110, which is category 2 intensity, as it moves towards the north, passing the Japanese Daito Islands right now, and expected to move towards the northeast. You can see the central core of the storm still lingering just off the coast of Guam, but could be a threat over the next 12 to 24 hours in particular. So looking at the world tropics then, not too much going on right now. We have the remnants of Priscilla in the Eastern Pacific, which have dissipated. Invest 99L in the Atlantic, which has a very low chance of development, and Francisco in the Pacific, of course, and Invest 94W as well. Typhoon bearing down on them wherever they may be. Over the world tropics then, as of right now, October 19th at 8 PM UTC, you can see the current systems. 96E and Invest, located just to the south of Mexico, has a high chance of development over the next 2 days, 80%. And over in the Western Pacific, that's where we have our other systems. Francisco, of course, a new tropical depression, 27W, which has formed to its east. Near the Mariana Islands, and towards the southeast there, 95W, not marked on here, but you can see it quite clearly. Intense rainfall activity encountering the coastline of Mexico there too. So the world tropics right now, as of October 21st at 1 PM UTC, Raymond's over there, of course, category 3 storm. Invest 90L in the Atlantic, which could develop into a tropical storm in the next few days, 40% chance on that one. Invest 95S in the southern Indian Ocean. Typhoon Francisco and Tropical Storm Lekima in the Western Pacific, and also another system in the South Pacific which could form into a tropical storm there as well. It appears to be waning a little bit, and I think we'll probably see it weaken to a tropical storm in the next 12 hours before the end of today. So this is the world tropics right now. Raymond is now a tropical storm, just weakened from a hurricane in the Eastern Pacific after being stationary for over 2 days. Tropical storm Lorenzo moving through the central Atlantic, weakening now as well. And we have the 2 storms, of course, in the Pacific Ocean. And we have 3 invests in the southern hemisphere too, in the South Indian Ocean, 95S, and 2 invests in the South Pacific too, but none of those are likely to form at the moment right now, but it is likely to weaken over the next few days. So as for November the 2nd around the world, we currently have a few systems active. Tropical Depression 18E, the other significant going on at the moment elsewhere in the Eastern Pacific. That's likely to be a tropical storm very soon. Of course, we have Typhoon Croza, a category 3 storm in the South China Sea, and Invest 98W, which could form into a tropical storm in the next few days. That's probably what the models are picking up on. One of those storms at least being the form of 98W, intensifying into a storm. They're not looking too bad at all. So as of November the 4th, 2013 at 2 PM UTC, we have Tropical Depression Sonia, which made landfall in Mexico not too long ago as a minimal tropical storm. Obviously in the Pacific we have the other current systems. Tropical Depression Croza, what's left of it, spectacularly disintegrated yesterday. Tropical Depression 30 over the Philippines, and of course Tropical Storm Haiyan, which is currently located at quite a low latitude in the Micronesian islands right now. Continue to get worse over the next 2 days or so. So this is the current world tropics right now. Nothing else going on in the Eastern Pacific, though we do have an invest in the Bay of in the Arabian Sea actually. 90A currently located to the southwest of India. We currently have Tropical Storm 30W as well in the South China Sea approaching Vietnam, and of course Typhoon Haiyan. We have wind speeds of 160 miles per hour sustained and gusts not too far from 200 miles per hour. So as of right now, November the 6th, we only have activity in the Eastern Hemisphere, nothing going on in the Western Hemisphere. We have Invest 90A in the Arabian Sea, which could develop into a tropical storm as well. The models were hinting at that not too long ago. What's left of Tropical Depression 30W, which has moved over Vietnam now, and of course Super Typhoon Haiyan. That's the only things going on in the world at the moment. Makes landfall in the Visayas region in the next 12 to 24 hours. So as of November the 7th, 2013, not much else going on at the moment. Haiyan is the only storm out there. We do have two disturbances which could develop into tropical cyclones over the next few days. Invest 90A in the Arabian Sea and Invest 97S on the other side of the equator in the South Indian Ocean. In the Pacific Ocean, you can see Haiyan there, a very intense storm, already having its influence over the Philippines, but the worst is yet to come, and it will be pretty bad where the storm does make landfall. Indeed, it probably will make multiple landfalls as it crosses over the Philippine Islands. We could still be looking at wind speeds of 115 miles per hour or higher, with obviously much higher gusts. The world tropics right now. As of November the 8th, 2013 at 9 PM UTC, we have a system that could develop into a tropical cyclone. Invest 90A in the Arabian Sea, which could be a problem for Somalia. It could make landfall there as a tropical cyclone. And of course we have Haiyan, which is moving away from the Philippines right now towards the South China Sea. You can also see a little bit of a disturbance towards Micronesia, that region, something that could develop over the next few days. Coast of China into Vietnam as well already, with some heavy rain occurring there. So as of November the 10th at 2 AM UTC, this is the current tropic situation. Tropical Storm 3A in the Arabian Sea, not too far from the coast of Somalia. An update on that tomorrow, quite possibly. Haiyan, a Category 2 typhoon, of course, moving into the Gulf of Tonkin. And Invest 90W, which is located, not marked here on the Pacific Ocean overview, just towards the east-southeast of the Philippines, not too far from the equator right now. There you can see the centre of the storm near that black line, which signifies the equator at the very bottom of the screen there, north of Papua New Guinea. Storm moves ashore Vietnam. So as of November the 10th at 2 PM UTC, we have a few systems out there. Tropical Storm 3A about to make landfall in Somalia in the next 24 hours. Invest 98S has formed not too far from Indonesia in the southern Indian Ocean. Of course, we have Typhoon Haiyan and Invest 90W, which could develop into our next Western Pacific storm in the next day or two as it heads towards the Philippines, or it may wait until passing the Philippines before developing into a tropical storm. But either way, it will cause some heavy rainfall over there, so we could see conditions which are already not too great after the Haiyan itself not be obviously with more rainfall falling. We could see some more flooding occurring there yet, but that's likely to change over the next few hours, or maybe a little bit longer than that. So looking at the world tropics right now, November the 20th, Melissa has just turned a tropical in the Atlantic, I believe, to the southeast of Newfoundland, and we also have Helen, of course, Cyclone Helen, and Invest 92W, which I mentioned earlier, which is just about to move over the Malay Peninsula for those people living in those remote areas of the northern coast there. So in the world tropics right now, as of November 22nd at 9 PM UTC, we currently have the remnants of Melissa in between the Azores and the Iberian Peninsula. Now we have the remnants of Helen as well, holding on to tropical depression status off the coast of India, and we have Invest 92W, which could develop into a new storm as it moves into the Indian Ocean, currently in the Andaman Sea right now, towards the centre of the storm with higher gusts. So as of November 23rd at 9 PM UTC, we have no storms out in the Western Hemisphere at the moment. It's all going on in the Eastern Hemisphere, where we have two systems: Tropical Cyclone 5B, which has formed in the Indian Ocean in the Andaman Sea, and of course Tropical Cyclone Alicia, which is currently moving over the Australian coastline, as you've already seen. Indication of how the storm's going to go in the next few days. So around the world tropics right now, it's fairly quiet. The only thing going on is Lihar, which is currently located in the Bay of Bengal. Of course, nothing else going on around the world right now, not even any invests. Areas of interest that are developing. The remnants of Alicia are still going over Australia somewhere, but really there's not much left of that.